stronger domestic demand puts economies in better position to withstand swings in the global business cycle and the disruption in the world trade as we are seeing it at the moment. And it helps to keep our growth trajectories on course.
She said there's an important role for government spending on investment for a future that is, as she put it, more productive, more digital and greener. She did not name any specific countries, but the obvious, they're not the only target, is Germany, whose public finances are strong enough to give it room to increase spending. I'm the BBC's Andrew Walker at Marketplace.
Let's do the numbers. The FTSE in London is up 0.1%. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all up in the 1.2% range. The Dow future up 22 points.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Forex.com. Global events move the FX market every day. Forex.com is here to help you seize new trading opportunities. Forex.com, it's your world trading. Forex trading involves significant risk of loss. And by the New Economy Forum. This November, people with the power to change the world gather in Beijing to chart a new path forward. NewEconomyForum.com.
Demonstrations in Hong Kong against control by Beijing and police brutality took another violent turn this week when police clashed with protesters on college campuses. Watching all this closely are multinational companies. Many have been accused of taking Beijing's side in the conflict in order to gain access to a billion customers. One of those companies includes an American video game firm. Marketplace.com reports. China's $30 billion video game market is second in size only to our own, and American game developer Blizzard Entertainment knows it. Blizzard's parent company, Activision Blizzard, wants to get its best-selling mobile version of Call of Duty into Chinese hands.
The safe zone is collapsing.
But the power to approve or reject games belongs to China's government. And the question is, what's Blizzard willing to do to make Beijing happy? For 2 months, the company has been taking heat over this. In a recent Blizzard tournament online, a champion gamer proclaimed, "Liberate Hong Kong," that is, from the Chinese government. That government takes its territory very seriously. The company suspended the player and confiscated his winnings.
There's no doubt in my mind that Blizzard took that action to protect or expand its position inside China.
American Charlie Mosley runs the Chengdu Gaming Federation in China.
There's only a very small number of developers and publishers which believe have the opportunity to get inside China. And Blizzard is in that small list.
Blizzard denied the sanction was imposed to please Chinese authorities, saying it bans all political statements. Even so, the dust-up triggered an angry boycott from many gamers, and weeks later the company backtracked and gave the punished player his money. Company president J. Allen Brack spoke at a Blizzard convention.
We didn't live up to the high standards that we really set for ourselves. And for that, I am sorry.
The outspoken champion remains suspended, though, and Blizzard's rivals have attacked its actions. The head of Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, says he supports gamers' freedom of speech. And then there's the gaming company Immutable. Its product, Gods Unchained, meets head-on with Blizzard's Hearthstone. The company launched a drive to recruit players in Hong Kong, and it saw record downloads. Sale Lily is with the Rand Corporation think tank.
I think we saw small and big companies looking to point out that they're supportive of political speech and that their games are aligned with sort of a gamer community that is generally irreverent but probably leans on the side of Hong Kong independence.
He says it's still unclear if Blizzard has taken a financial hit. Longtime industry executive Mike Fisher says reputational damage has been done. To him, this episode shows how hard it is to please gamers in 2 different markets. In general, those in China prioritize patriotism, and those in America, free speech.
I don't know that it's going to be possible to make everyone happy at the same time.
Still, video game companies are surely trying. I'm Scott Pong for Marketplace. Our executive producer is Nicole Childers. Our digital producer is Miguel Contreras. Our engineer is Brian Allison. Our fellow is Erica Soderstrom. In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From 8 p.m., American Public Media.
You are listening to Morning Edition on 89.3 WFBL. Did you know that more Americans are actually staying put than ever before? The Census Bureau is
reporting this week that mobility's fallen to the lowest level on record by half the rate of just 3 decades ago. We'll talk about that coming at 7:16.
Support for 89.3 WFPL comes from St. Vincent de Paul, providing food and shelter for people in need since 1850.
It'll clear up some.
Volunteers are needed for the Santa shop, prep, gift wrap, and help parents shop for their kids. Details at sbdplou.org. From Kendrick Healthcare, specializing in rehabilitation and long-term acute care services for 30 years. Questions about care or rehabilitation after a hospital stay can be answered by speaking with a registered nurse at 1-866-KENDRICK. This is 89.3 WFPL local. Visit WFPL.org for Louisville Public Media.
It's 7 a.m.
This morning, we've heard a dozen witnesses testify about the president's conduct. Now, the House Judiciary Committee has a chance to consider impeachment. We'll question Republican on that
Just
committee.
don't need to get into wide blades.
NPR News.
I just haven't had time to.
Israel's Prime Minister says he's not going anywhere. I'm Steve Inskeep.
And I'm David Green. Benjamin Netanyahu is charged with bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. He told the indictment against him in an attempted coup. Also, we'll hear from the campaign trail as Joe Biden's rivals try to challenge his support among black voters. And the state of Texas is planning to take over its largest school district, and that's leaving Houston teachers anxious. On this Freaky Friday, November 22nd, Jamie Lee Curtis turned 61 years old. News is next.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Cora McCollum. The House Intelligence Committee wrapped up its final impeachment hearing of the week on Thursday. Lawmakers heard from former National Security Council aide Neil Hill and State Department official David Holmes. This included a two-week process that saw 12 witnesses appear publicly before the panel. NPR's Tim Mack explains what comes next. The House Intelligence Committee has not announced additional hearings, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is giving no indication yet as to the timing. Once the Intelligence Committee concludes its inquiry, the panel will write a report and
Truck
transmit
had to
it
round
to
up
the
for
hearing.
your Doug articles.
The hearing may then consider possible articles of impeachment against the president. NPR's Tim Mack. President Trump is scheduled to meet today with representatives from the vaping industry as well as public health advocates who've been pushing for a ban on flavored e-cigarettes. NPR's Allison Aubrey reports the administration says it's continuing to develop guidelines to protect public health.
The meeting has been framed as an opportunity for the president to hear from a large group representing all viewpoints. Leaders from the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Lung Association plan to attend, and a group of parents concerned about vaping is also included. A range of industry representatives from Juul and other companies are invited too. The president announced his support for a ban, but then came reports the administration had backed off. Now the administration says the policy process is not stalled. Allison Aubrey, NPR News, Washington.
President Trump visited Dover Air Force Base in Delaware last night and witnessed the transfer ceremony for 2 American soldiers killed in Afghanistan this week. Chief Warrant Officers Kirk Giovanni Jr. and David Nagle died in a helicopter crash that the Pentagon is investigating. Federal climate observers say that last month was the Earth's second hottest October in recorded history. NPR's Nathan Rock reports this sets up the planet for one of its hottest years in recorded history. Record
I'd like a number 2, please, with a Dr. Pepper, and that'll be all.
Dr. Pepper and what?
And that'll be it.
Okay. Supposed to be 508 tomorrow.
WFPL's Kaylin Jackson reports one of the attractions is large sculpted creatures from the How to Train Your Dragon movies.
Sculptor John Marks says he started doing these kind of sculptures 5 years ago when he made a Hulk costume that was just too big.
I realized I overshot it and ended up filling it with foam.
Now he travels to conventions across the U.S., showing his sculptures and making money from the pictures people take with them. Marks says that his sculptures offer people a chance to escape.
People need that childhood experience, that immersion to escape reality sometimes, because it can be tough.
The convention starts this Friday, and it ends on Sunday, November 24th. I'm Kaylin Jackson in Louisville.
Federal officials plan to announce a new national wildlife refuge in western Kentucky. The U.S. Department of Interior says Secretary David Bernhardt and Senator Mitch McConnell will join other dignitaries today in Henderson to announce the Green River National Wildlife Refuge. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says the ceremony will take place on the first 10-acre tract of what will eventually be a 24,000-acre refuge.
Support for NPR comes from the Pajamagram Company, creators of matching holiday pajamas for the whole family, including dogs and cats, with Charlie Brown's Star Wars and Grinch themes in knits, fleece, and flannel. Available at pajamagram.com.
Showers for us this morning, otherwise cloudy today with a high of just about 50 or so. Right now, some scattered showers, and it's 46. I'm Bill Burton, 89.3 WFPL. Good morning, it's 7:07.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm David Green in Culver City, California.
And I'm Steve Inskeep in Washington, D.C. Good morning. A decorated officer in the United States military.
testimony affirming bribery or extortion. There's been a whole lot of readily admitted presumption and assumption and opinion. And it's all about a phone call with a transcript that every single American can read for themselves. So I think that the Democrats want this impeachment exercise based on what everyone knows now is an anonymous complaint by a whistleblower, was followed by an ad hoc process determined by committees that don't even have historic jurisdiction over it.
Well, let me
now we have this.
Well, let's talk about this, though, Congressman, because you've said you've poked a number of holes in the Democratic case, and I understand that. But what I want to know is, what was the president trying to do? It's not a matter of opinion what he said on the phone call with Ukraine's president. We have sworn testimony from a variety of very credible witnesses, including people who have supported the president in the past, that back that up as part of a lengthy campaign. What was the president trying to do?
I think the president was trying to root out corruption, and I've seen our Democrat colleagues try to dismiss that explanation, but look, here are the facts. If you look at the totality of the circumstances, if you look at the full context of what was going on, and of course, the president of the United States has the benefit of all that, seeing the whole field and surveying it together. He made a commitment to drain the swamp. Here's the newly elected President Zelensky in Ukraine, who made the same
same campaign promise to his people, and the president is having a frank discussion with him about that. He has a fiduciary obligation as commander-in-chief, the president of our country, to ensure that the treasure of American taxpayers has not been spent overseas.
But when you say the treasury is not misspent overseas, are you admitting then that the president was linking the holdup of military aid to getting an investigation of his political rival Joe Biden? Is that why he was doing that?
No, not at all. I'm not admitting that, because I don't think that's in the record of the fact here. What is in the record, in fact, of all the witnesses that have been paraded before the American people now, Ambassador Sondland is the only one who had a direct conversation with the president, and he famously said, he asked the president directly, "What do you want from Ukraine?" The president's response was clear. Quote, he said, "I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. I want Zelensky to do the right thing."
Well, let's remember, you're exactly correct about that, Congressman. But of course, as you also know, President Trump made that statement on September 9, after, as Democrats have pointed out, the lid was blowing up on this. When it was becoming apparent that the effort was exposed, he was saying something very different earlier. And Sondland said it was his presumption, his understanding, 2 + 2 = 4, that what he needed to do was get investigations of Democrats for the president in order to have military aid released for Ukraine.
Yes, and that's what he said was his presumption, but he was also asked directly in the hearing by one of the Republicans on the committee, nobody has told you that aid was tied to the investigation. Is that correct? Ambassador Sondland said that's correct. We also have the Ukraine foreign minister who came out Thursday of last week with his statement saying that there was no link between funding and any investigation.
I think, Congressman, if I can just interrupt, I'm sorry, I think I hear you saying that the president's conduct was understandable, appropriate, within bounds. Of course, the president has said it was perfect. Given that, should the president seek more investigations of political opponents from more countries?
No, I don't believe that's what he was doing. I think that's a mischaracterization of the summation of the facts.
He literally asked for an investigation of Joe Biden according to the White House call. That is a fact, and everyone can hear it.
Well, yes, but why in this context? Not because he's a potential rival in 2020, because of all of the corruption involved in the 2016 election. And look, this is very clear, and this is something every American knows. The president continues to, and has always been frustrated by what happened in 2016. He talks about it all the time. He tweets about it constantly. He has for years. This is, in his mind, the mens rea, the intent behind what the president was doing, is he trying to root that out. Of course he wants to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. We all do. That's what many of the witnesses said yesterday. And what the president believed was that Ukraine had involvement in that. We had Ukrainian officials writing op-eds against the president and all of that. Now, whether anybody agrees that's a reasonable conclusion on the part of the president, that may be debatable, but in his mind, that's what this is about. I take him at his word on that.
Well, let's just be clear. The president is already ready to go on. He's publicly called for China to investigate Joe Biden. And I'd like to take this conduct to the next level, if I might, Congressman. And this does seem to me to be a plausible scenario because it's something that we've just talked about that you say does not rise to the level of impeachment. It's okay. Let's say that this president or a future president calls up the Attorney General of the state of Louisiana. It's a phone call. He says, listen, we give Louisiana lots of federal aid. It's a good relationship. You guys don't always reciprocate, but we give you lots of federal aid. I would like you to do us a favor, though. I need you to investigate Congressman Mike Johnson. Will that be appropriate, Congressman Mike Johnson?
No, I don't think it would, and I don't think that's what happened here. Again, if you look at any of this...
It is exactly the same facts, sir. It's exactly the same facts. How is one inappropriate if the other is fine?
To use your example, if I had been engaged, or there was allegation or concern that I had been engaged in meddling with an election, with putting my son on the board of a Louisiana committee or some sort of corporation that was notoriously corrupt, where he was going to make $85,000 a month or whatever it was, there may be concern about that. It shouldn't be just the president. It should be the Attorney General.
Oh, good point. That's a good point. Shouldn't that normally be left to ordinary law enforcement officials rather than a political figure like the president? It's very unusual that the president demands the investigation of a specific United States citizen, isn't it?
Well, this goes back to the president. President Trump is a hands-on figure. He is...
In this one instance, let's remember he was not hands-on in any other aspect of corruption. Go ahead.
Okay, so not only only is he the President of the United States, he is also the Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. military. The Department of Defense has an affirmative obligation under federal law to ensure anti-corruption measures are in place before we send military aid overseas. The President presides over all of that. Of course, he is the person whom the Attorney General responds to and answers to. Now, he can delegate a lot of this authority, but he has a personal interest in it as well. His personal interest is the integrity of our election process. He wants to root out corruption, and so it is Zelensky. I think it was appropriate.
The phrase that he has a personal interest is one in which I think a lot of your critics would perhaps agree. Congressman, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Mike Johnson is a Republican congressman from Louisiana. He joined us from Shreveport. NPR's congressional correspondent Tim Mack was listening in. Tim, what do you hear there?
Well, one of the major arguments here by the congressman and by a lot of Republicans is that the president was trying to root out corruption, that was the basis for his request. And, of course, Democrats would say that if that were the case, he would have taken other steps, that the president in his transcript and that the White House released does not ask about corruption measures, does not ask about perhaps corruption legislation that the Ukrainian government could pass.
He asked about the thing in which he had, to quote Congressman Johnson, a personal interest, although Congressman Johnson, to be fair, went on to say his personal interest was rooting out corruption. But go on.
Right, and so that's one key argument of Republicans. Republicans have also argued that this, because the aid was ultimately released and the investigation did not ultimately occur, then no misconduct happened. But as you pointed out in the conversation, the context of the president's conversation with Ambassador Sondland and the ultimate release of the aid is that before that occurred, the House decided that it would be investigating this matter, and a whistleblower complaint had already begun circulating among the White House and in the intelligence community, IG's office. So that was really interesting. And another point that the congressman made was about how the president is the commander-in-chief and that he has a responsibility as commander-in-chief to ensure that no military aid is provided to a foreign country that has corruption issues. But the president's Department of Defense had already attested that the Ukrainian government had dealt with, had met various anti-corruption thresholds this spring.
And I guess we should note, it is normal for a president to leave law enforcement matters to law enforcement people to avoid just this appearance of impropriety. In fact, sometimes the Attorney General, as we learned with both Jeff Sessions and Loretta Lynch, it can be controversial even for the Attorney General to be involved in matters that appear political in this way.
Right, and as we heard through testimony this week, there is a formal channel for the Justice Department to request assistance from foreign governments.
Okay, that's NPR's congressional correspondent Tim Mack. The next step for the impeachment process may be the House Judiciary Committee. We'll keep covering it on NPR News.
You are listening to Morning Edition on 89.3 WFBL. The Texas Education Commissioner has notified Houston's school board that he will strip it of its elected powers, a move that was widely expected, but still marks an unprecedented takeover. We'll talk about what's happening with Houston schools in 20 minutes.
Support for 89.3 WFPL comes from U of L's College of Business, providing online programs created to develop leadership skills and business savvy. Online programs include an MBA, certificates in franchising and distilled spirits, and accounting programs that prep for the CPA. More at business.louisville.edu/online business. From the Fraser History Museum, presenting Celebrating the South of Kentucky now on view. This exhibit aims to tell the most real-told tale of Kentucky music and its influence on America. More at FraserMuseum.org.
Rain for us this morning and a high of just about 50. Looks like we could get some rain on Saturday morning as well. Otherwise, it'll be a cloudy day. 40s for us. Right now, still a few scattered showers, and it's
moves are often driven by family circumstances.
Typically, younger adults move the most, but when those younger adults are stuck in place and are taking their time to get married and having children and buying homes, that has a lot to do with it.
Professional movers have noticed the downturn. And no wonder. Scott Michaels with the American Moving and Storage Association says any change of address is stressful.
And it's not all about the move. It's all about finding new friends for your family and your children, finding a new grocery store. Everything changes when you move, and you need to deal with all of those different things.
People who move long distances typically do so for job-related reasons. So that drop probably reflects larger changes in the labor market. Maybe technologies enabling more people to work remotely without the hassle of relocation. Or maybe workers just don't think it's worth it to pack up and move cross-country for a job. Economist Abigail Wozniak says it's too soon to say whether this long-term decline in mobility is a problem.
My concern is less that workers are making mistakes by not taking advantage of opportunities that are out there. My concern is more that somehow these opportunities are either fewer and farther between, or they've become more difficult to access or take advantage of over time.
Wozniak began studying mobility when she was a professor at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. Earlier this year, though, she took a new job 500 miles away at the Federal Reserve Bank in Minneapolis. In other words, she's now part of a steadily shrinking pool of footloose workers.
So now I've lived it, and it's super hard. This caused me to reflect on that a little bit.
Throughout this country's history, movers have shaped the United States. We may have to adjust to a population that's more likely to stay home. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
This is NPR News. Good morning. You are listening to Morning Edition on 89.3 WFPL. Happy Friday. This Friday afternoon, when you tune into All Things Considered for the latest headlines of the moment, you'll also hear about how some states have mandated active shooter drills at schools, and not everybody thinks that's a good idea for the kids, especially those with anxiety or developmental disorders. So we'll break down the value of active shooter drills at schools. That is during All Things Considered 4 to 6 this afternoon with Jodice Franklin.
Support for 89.3 WFPL comes from the Speed Art Museum's new exhibition, Tales from the Turf, the Kentucky Horse, now open. Tales from the Turf's artworks from Kentucky's major private collections tell the story of the horse in the bluegrass state to grow Kentucky's understanding of its own history through the act of making, collecting, and sharing the art of the horse. More at speedmuseum.org. From NS2 and the Louisville Palace, presenting Diana Ross in concert, Sunday, February 23rd at 7:30. Tickets are available today at noon at the Louisville Palace Ticket Office and Ticketmaster.com.
Showers at 46 at 7:30.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Amy Held. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is giving no timeline into the possible impeachment of President Trump. The House Intelligence Committee has finished scheduled public hearings in the inquiry centered on Trump's dealings with Ukraine. NPR's Tim Mack explains what's next.
If they're finished with hearing from witnesses, they will need to write a report and provide it to the House Judiciary Committee to consider potential articles of impeachment against the president. It certainly sounds like the House Intelligence Committee was making
The stage for an unprecedented corruption charges against the government. Netanyahu's political rival Benny Gantz said that Netanyahu should step down in order to focus on the charges against him. Israel's Attorney General announced that he is charging Netanyahu for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. Netanyahu has denied any wrongdoing. Global stocks mostly inched up today, boosted by China.
slipping, sliding everywhere.
Israel may be headed to a third election after two inconclusive elections this year. And so there are questions, legal questions now, about whether Netanyahu will be able to run for re-election. And then there are politics involved. Will his own party help him decide that a better candidate will do better than him in a new election? I spoke to a Likud party official in Netanyahu's party who says, I think this investigation was an injustice. On the other hand, how can Netanyahu continue to govern the country while he's got this corruption trial ahead of him?
All right, NPR's Daniel Estrin reporting from Tel Aviv. Daniel, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
The school district in Houston, Texas faces an unprecedented move. Texas officials announced a complete takeover of one of the largest school districts in America. They announced this even though the district came very close to earning an A grade in the latest state report card. So why take it over? Houston Public Media's Laura Eisensee has the story.
This year, veteran educator Carrie Petty started a new job teaching digital media in Houston. But during his first week, he learned the state would take over the entire district, which has over 200,000 students.
And I was like, whoa, I'm having to take a flashback to Orleans and all the Detroit plans in Detroit public schools.
Petty has taught in New Orleans and Michigan and lost his interview there. This stretch has loomed over the nation's seventh largest district for over 2 years. So
Texas Education
Mommy,
Commissioner
stop.
must close the campus or replace the entire district's elected board. And Ely High, a historically black school that's produced members of Congress, prominent athletes, and celebrities, has failed 7 times in a row.
My parents are just focus on this kid, like sit back.
Petty says their anxiety hasn't calmed down since Commissioner Mike Morath announced this month he plans to oust the 9-member school board and appoint outside managers. One reason? Ely High's chronic low performance, something Morath hinted at this fall.
And the unfortunate truth is some of the schools that we have are not good enough for my kids or your kids or the kids that are in them.
Morath says another reason for his decision, state investigators found widespread misconduct among board members. That's a major reason why the Houston business community backs the takeover. Here's Bob Harvey with the Greater Houston Partnership addressing members.
We think the Houston Independent School District's board's long-term failure to consistently support all of our schools, all of our kids, warrants new leadership and a state.
But some teachers and advocates say Houston voters have already fixed that problem when they elected 40 board members this November. They made it clear at a recent community meeting at Ely High they want to choose their own representatives.
You're taking the control of our local school district from people who don't have a voice.
Michelle Williams has taught for 20 years. She asked, who will hold appointed managers accountable?
What if we don't like them? Then what process do we have?
Texas education administrators promise new managers will get robust training and support, and they'll reflect Houston's diverse community. That hasn't convinced Williams.
I don't see how it's going to work. I see in our future the district getting worse because the teachers who are committed, the parents who were committed, may not stay because of this election.
The Houston School Board and the Teachers Union are trying to stop the takeover in court. In a joint federal lawsuit, their attorneys claim it disenfranchises Hispanic and black voters in the district. The union has also called the takeover a way to privatize public education with more charter schools. Still, teachers like Carrie Petty say they plan to focus on their students.
I'm not gonna walk out of here. Trust me that. I'm still gonna be here. Teach every day like it's in my last, so I'm not going anywhere.
But he wants answers. Like
Got nothing
what
else.
the state board put at the top of their agenda.
I'm hoping the ride home is a lot more terrifying and stormy. But we'll see. It's supposed to be light drizzle all day. Gonna get really super rainy a little after 8 a.m. But we'll see. Whatever. Goodbye.